Okay, so I'm following up yesterday's video, and I want to talk a little bit about the discussion I was having regarding, I guess, some of the questions on Jesus and the Jesus myth and the role of that symbol in both people's everyday lives and in theology. I think the one line that got the most sort of critical attention throughout was this question of either Jesus knew he was God or he was a crackpot. This was really a line that I think generated a lot of back channel comments as well as comments the on the video. I did not mean to in any way to traffic into some sort of discussion of the Trinity. I don't think any of this hinges upon the Trinity. I think the question hinges upon some of the more fantastical claims like virgin births and resurrections, and I do think theologically that the New Testament is where you find some notion of a covenant of personal immortality and personal afterlife. That to me seems to be very problematic. If you go to the three covenants in the monotheistic tradition, the Abraham covenant, the Noah covenant, and then the final covenant with the Christ figure, I think part of the difficulty that I have is, as many people have suggested, is with the super fantastical. It's as if life itself isn't a miracle enough for some people. It's as if once we say there will be no divine intervention, there will be no virgin births, there will be no ultimate justice and recompense, there will be no resurrections, there is no transmigration of souls. It's like as soon as you say that, people immediately assume that you're arguing a position of atheism. To me, the question really is, what does one mean or ought one mean by God? I tried to suggest before, I don't think that atheism is a position that's outside of the theological realm. I think humans are theological beings, and atheism is a theological position. That's what it is. To me, the really only substantive question, in some way anyway, is what do we mean or ought we mean by God? I think there are ultimate questions for which God becomes a kind of answer that satisfies people. Why did the universe come into being? Why? Right? I mean, if you say, well, it came in through various organic processes, but why? Where did all this stuff come from? How did it? I mean, there was nothing, and then there was something. That seems a little odd. It seems like a miracle to me. I guess I mean I could be very naive about this, but it seems miraculous that there could have been nothing, and then there was something. It also seems miraculous to claim that there always was what is. Okay, let's see if I can cut back for just a minute and cut to some of this question about what ought one mean by God? Part of the issue that I suggested in the last video, at least in some of the comments, was that perhaps, now I don't know, who knows, right? Who knows? But imagine that we say that God is relation, pure and simple. That's what God is. God is relation. God is not a thing, not locatable. God is in the in-between. God is pure relation, a being not that is a thing, but is relationship per se, and human self-relation is the epitome of the manifestation for humans of what we call to be divine presence. This divine presence is the capacity for self-relation. It's for larger relation. I think relation itself is a kind of divinity. Yeah, I mean, the fact that it isn't just a mismatch of stuff here, but that the stuff somehow is related in a harmonious way, and then humans, in their ability to talk, not only resonate with that relation, but have culminated into a kind of self-relation such that aloneness is now impossible. See, when people interpret this metaphor of the Christ figure on the cross, where Christ says, my God, why have you forsaken me?" Many different people interpret that in different ways. I think there are some people, and this is the way that I'm inclined to interpret it, is that this is a presage for the fact that the life journey of the individual was destined historically to take on a significance. That individuation, as it was happening with literacy, came to, I guess, culminate with a notion that the actual individual's life journey had a spiritual significance. And this is what that, metaphor was. Now, the people who want to say, oh no, if you say that Jesus was God, you're making traffic into some sort of Trinity argument. I don't know if that's the case. I think lots of people, when they grab their heart and they talk of Jesus, they act as if they're talking about God, the Son of God, or some person who was a virgin birth, and somehow some person who represents for them immortality, the immortality of the individual soul, all this kind of stuff. I guess from my own perspective, I'm very interested in what I've called at other places a biologically friendly theology. I'm interested in a robust, genuine sense of mystery and divinity that includes what all this is, including our own need for meaning, our own sense that if I am, that this matters in some way, that life has a, if not a purpose, it has the capacity for humans to invent purposes, and that is the purpose, right? But I think the sort of larger question of is it possible to make room for a notion of God once you get rid of all the fantasy, once you get rid of the happily ever after, once you get rid of the ghosts and the divine intervention and the virgin births, is it that we're really left with nothing? Or is there a capacity to recover a genuine kind of religious or authentic religious grounding or a spirituality that doesn't make recourse to any of the super fantastical? Could there be something utterly profound in recognizing that one is part of everything that has ever existed and that the eyes fool us? See, so much of the work that I've done, and please look at some of the other videos, is on sound. I think eyes give us the sense of things at a distance. They remind us of our separation from other things and our distance from them, whereas sounds are always intimately near. Sounds are a continual register of our connection with others, the fact that others, even if they're in the distance, as sight would tell us, they're actually intimately near, as the ears disclose. The other is surrounding me, and I find myself in the presence of the other, right? Speech itself is a kind of ongoing evidence of the love of a radical, unknown other. It's not just that you learned the language from your parents, you knew them, but they learned them from somebody, and then they learned them from somebody. And there is a kind of trans individual ship that we're on. We don't see it, it's invisible, right? It's the language that we speak, but there is a kind of transcendence in the human realm. Humans are spiritual beings. We've been otherized from the inside out by way of the Word. The Word is what people need to understand. I think in the same way that God is reified, concretized, dogmatized, I think we could say the same thing for language. Language may be the ultimate mystery, and the scientific orientations toward language have been pretty weak thus far. In fact, the more that we look at some of the scientific orientations toward language, they tell us a lot about the workings, the linguistic aspects of the language, but they don't seem to tell us a lot about meaning. They don't tell us a lot about personhood, as personhood is made manifest through language. They don't tell us a lot about poetic meaning and ambiguity, and they don't tell us a lot about sound. There does seem to be a privileging of vision in the scientific orientation that tries to treat language as if it were something that could be dealt with in the wholly visible realm. At any rate, those are some of the concerns that I had about some of the video and the responses to it, and hope that's further engagement for people. Thanks.